Lovely. Thank you, Ian. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully you're all hearing us okay. Shirley and Lucy, I can see you both, so great. I saw your thumbs up. That's perfect. Sound is working. We are here today to talk about Microsoft Teams Premium. Now, as Ian mentioned, it is an extra product to tag on. It is licensed separately, so it's a purchase that you add on to your existing standard Teams. With it, though, comes some pretty amazing features that can be useful to you, and that's what today is all about. Is it worth making the switch? Now, the great thing with this is that you don't have to make the call to move everybody in your organisation across to Teams Premium. You can choose key members that would need that and license those into the Teams Premium space. Today's session is not so much a training session, it's more showing you what features are available. If anybody is interested in learning more and doing some training or needs some assistance with the deployment of Teams Premium, by all means get in touch with us. But today's just a come along and see what it can do session. So with that, let's get into the actual session. What is available inside of Teams Premium? Now, one of the main features that's capturing most people in terms of this is such a great thing to have and makes you want to do the switch straight away is the intelligent recap for meetings. It's bringing AI into your meeting, which allows you to catch up in your meetings and get the information that you need that's important to you straight away, even if you haven't attended the meeting. And we'll delve into that a bit shortly. We've got things like advanced protection coming into our meeting space, so it gives you some control and security when you're running and hosting your meetings. We've also got some additional meeting features, and I'll step you through some of those. We can do things like customize meetings, and for those of you that are interested in it, there is also advanced virtual appointments. So we'll give you a little bit of an overview into that as well. So that's the big picture. Let's drill into some of these features. We're going to start with an intelligent meeting recap. Now, the meeting recap allows you to save time and hopefully sanity as you go through your meetings. So it gives you a chance to catch up on the meetings. If you've missed the meeting, you can scan the meeting to get a feel for what's taken place. It gives you one place to keep all your meeting collateral together so you can easily see the different parts that are making up your meeting. We've talked about how it brings the AI into your meeting as well, so we can get AI-powered insights about our meeting. And the AI is smart enough to generate some review notes from the meeting, as well as assign tasks as it hears tasks while you're going through your meeting. In that window on the right-hand side, that's what you'll see. So it breaks up the different parts of your meeting collateral on that screen. Now, to be able to see that screen, you open up your meeting, and at the top of the screen there's a button there that says recap, and that lets us see the screen here. We talked about it as being one place to store all your information. Let's have a look at what is in the screen. Now, it lets us see the highlights of our meeting and the recordings. The recording itself is here in the top left-hand corner. If there's any files that have been shared during the meeting, those files are shown across the top of our screen. We have buttons here that let us switch into different parts of the information from our meeting. So we can be looking at the AI notes, which are shown in this box down below. We can still create our own notes. So you're not relying solely on the AI. If you want to take your own notes, you can. You can also create your own task lists and agendas and things like that still. So you still have the ability to control it yourself. But hey, if AI can do it, why not let AI do it for you? We've got the ability to view our transcript from here. We can see the chat that took place in the meeting, and if people have been at mention, that shows up here as well. What's just out of screen in this screenshot is the follow-up tasks as well, but we'll see that in a couple of other screenshots going forward. I'm going to start with the AI because that's the part that most people are keenly interested in. So this gives you a bit of a close-up view of that AI notes area. What it does is as your meeting takes place, it's taking note of what's being said and who needs to do jobs, and it will then write notes about the meeting and write up any suggested tasks from the meeting as well. Now, it kicks in as long as you record your meeting with transcription, and the meeting needs to last for longer than 5 minutes. So it wants a hearty meeting, basically. And as long as you're recording it, it's going to start doing those notes for you. It provides that summary. It also gives your attendees their action items if you choose to turn them into tasks. And as we talked about, you can still apply your own standard notes, your own agenda and your own tasks in there as well. We can, through the power of Loop components, also share that information across other Microsoft 365 apps. Now, Loop takes that information and stores it in a central location. If we paste that information into a Word document or into an Outlook email, for example, if anybody edits or makes changes to the notes or the task list or marks the task complete, it syncs every single place where those notes have been copied to. Now that's Loop, it's separate from what we're covering today, but we are doing a separate session on Loop in the new year for those that are interested in looking in the Loop components. Intelligent Recap, we talked about it being a place where you can come to review the content. Now, it gives us a range of different ways of being able to search for information. Now, if you have a look in that video on the right-hand side, it's showing you some of the ways that we can go in and see the information. So here we are in the AI notes. We can expand the notes. When we click on those AI notes, it will take us to the part of the meeting where that note was collected from. You can see there's subnotes in there as well, so you can see the context in behind the note at the top level. Underneath the video, we can see speakers, and we can click on the different parts where that speaker has spoken, and we will be taken directly to where they've spoken in the video. You'll notice too that there's buttons there for chapters and topics, so we can use those buttons to jump to appropriate places in the meeting as well. Now, there's some other parts as well on the future slides, so I'll drill into those individually. First is time markers. At the bottom of the video, we get markers put in place. They're like a stamp telling us different parts that could be of interest to us. Now, these markers tell us when we arrived in the meeting and when we left the meeting. Now, you may have only been able to be there for part of the meeting, so you can then go and review the part of the meeting that you missed, for example. We can also see where our name was at mention. So wherever we see an at symbol, we can jump in and see the at mentioning at that point. We can see where people have shared their screen and jump to those particular moments in time as well. There are also speaker markers, which we see on the slide here. So the speaker markers list out who has been speaking during the meeting and color code where they've spoken. So we can use those to jump to where that particular person has spoken. Again, just re-emphasizing the fact that you do have to record the meeting for these features to work. So it needs to have the recording and the transcription. Video chapters. Underneath our video, we see a button for chapters. The chapters give us a good way of getting the context of what our meeting was about. So if you missed the meeting, you can come and look at the chapters and get a feel for what took place in that meeting, and then jump to specific topics that are of relevance to you. Again, speeds up reviewing what took place in a meeting. That's the intelligent recap. We're now going to move into some of the new features that have come through for meetings with Teams Premium. The first is that we now have access to a green room, which Ian and I were in before we joined this webinar today. A green room gives you a place where the presenters can meet, check their materials, get their PowerPoint slides up and ready, make sure all their meeting settings are ready to go. And then once they're ready, they click that yellow button that says start the meeting. In the meantime, the audience have been joining the meeting, but they're not actually coming into the meeting itself. you would have seen that you were on a welcome page, and then once we start the meeting, you come in. This stops the way that things run at the moment for you when you have a meeting where everybody jumps in at the time that they're ready. It gives you a bit more control having that green room and a place where you can talk where people aren't jumping in ahead of time. So that's the green room. Another new tool that's come in is the ability to create some meeting templates. If you have a look on the graphic on the right-hand side there, you'll see that under new meeting, we can come in and choose particular meeting type, and it will then create the meeting to that template requirement. Now, the templates are a way for us to be able to have settings applied to our meetings. So if you know that you always want a meeting to be automatically recorded, or that you want to turn off attendees' names, etc., we can be using those in the templates to speed up your meeting creation, but to ensure consistency across your meetings as well. And I've put a list there of some examples of when the template could be useful. So it could be to enforce the automatic recording, could be to restrict chat and the attendee camera. Maybe you want to make sure that Q&A is always turned on when you start your meetings. And if you're needing to take advantage of some of those stricter defaults, we can apply those as well. Meeting themes is also something new in Teams Premium. So at the moment, you get the stock standard branding of Microsoft Teams. Yes, you can apply your own background, like what I've got behind me as well, but we can put branding into those welcome pages, the registration pages. So the pre-join and the lobby screens will all have your own company colors and images should you wish it to. Now, that is managed behind the scenes by IT. So get in touch with us through Custom 365 and we can assist you with that deployment should you need it. Just be aware that the branding at the moment is not supported in Teams rooms. So if you've got team rooms in your office, it won't show there. And also on mobile devices, it's not shown now. It is planned to roll out later, but at the moment, it's not available in those two places. Managing what attendees can see when they come into a meeting. So normally when we run a meeting, as people join the meeting, we can see all the separate videos of each of the different attendees that come into the meeting, just like what we've got at the moment. We wanted to see who the faces were that were coming into the meeting, so we've kept it on today. But there are times when you're doing a large meeting and you just want to keep people focused on the people that are doing the actual presentation and the material that they're presenting. With this setting, you can dictate who the presenters are. Now, this is different to Spotlight. Some of you may already be using Spotlight. What it does is it only shows those two people. So in this case, the little video, you can see two people that are presenting. So only those two are being seen by the audience. You'll notice in the video that there are no other video pictures showing. They've all been hidden away. You can then also determine what is shown in the main screen of the window. Is it the shared presentation or a shared screen image or the video of the person presenting? And what is selected in that red box will present through to your audience. And there's an image now of how that would look. All right, security. We've got a few extra security features. I haven't covered them all. I've just grabbed a couple that I think will be of interest to you. The first is that we can now put a watermark in behind material that we're sharing during a meeting. The watermark you can see in the little video there, it's an email address that's repeated across the screen. Now, by putting that watermark in behind your presentation, it will protect people or stop people from taking unauthorized screenshots of your content. If they do, they're going to have that watermark showing. So it just protects what's going out there, particularly if you've got something confidential that's coming up on screen. We can also turn off copying and forwarding of meeting chat. So if we've got sensitive information being shared in the meeting chat, we can stop the copying. And when we turn that feature on, it stops the Control-C, the forward message, share to Outlook, and copy links. So all of those are locked down as part of the feature. We can control who can record meetings. At the moment, whoever records the meeting owns the meeting and therefore has the rights to delete the meeting as well. We can now specify who it is that is allowed to start the meeting and who owns that meeting. So it gives you a bit more control over that meeting collateral as well. So that's our meeting features. Next, we're going into virtual appointments. Now, I admit that this is probably not a feature that's needed for all the organisations that have joined us today, but it's good to know what's possible. And once I get into this, you don't have to be utilising all these features to use one of the features that I think you will find useful inside of here. So what is virtual appointments? Virtual appointments gives your business a central hub to manage all of your virtual appointments. As part of it, you get a place that you can manage those customer appointments. You can integrate schedules. You can look at analytics, check out the management options, etc. So from there, we're scheduling, viewing, and managing digital appointments. You get your real-time updates of who's queuing to have a meeting. We can send appointment reminders, so they can be as email or as an SMS. And we get analytics on what appointments have taken place over the day. Now, the sorts of people that might find this useful are people that conduct things like financial consultations, if you're doing healthcare visits, virtual fittings, conducting an interview for a new job, you can be using it for that, customer support, education back office, and those sorts of roles. And calendar is published online, should you wish it, that people can then use that to book appointments with your staff. For those of you that have got bookings in place or are aware of bookings, it links in with bookings, but it gives you more to that bookings functionality. We've got a little video on the right-hand side, so watch that as I talk through and it'll give you a little bit of a feel for it. So you can see here that we can schedule appointments in the online calendar. External attendees, now this is the important one and it can work for whether you're using the virtual appointments or not. We can have external attendees join a virtual meeting without having to download Teams on their phone or browser. So they're not having to have that Teams installed in the first instance. So that's a great wee feature. With virtual appointments, you get branded waiting room, so we can bring our branding into there. We can send the email and SMS confirmations and notifications. So you'll see on the screenshot there, there's a SMS or a text message reminding people they've got an upcoming appointment. Now, just a wee note, that's not available in NZ at the moment, the SMS. The email is. SMS, we believe, is coming soon. So fingers crossed that will be not too far away. Client access to a pre-appointment form, so we can get our clients to fill out a form before they attend the appointment, so we have all the information that we need in advance of the meeting. We can schedule our queue and we can talk to people while they're in the queue. So if we can see that the interviewer is running a bit late, we can send a message out to everyone in the queue saying we're running 5 minutes behind schedule, etc. So it gives you a place where you can interact. Plus you can analyze your analytics. So something a little bit different might be of interest for some of you there, but even if it's not for you, have a go at creating an appointment for your external people if they don't have access to Teams. It's a great wee tool there. And the next couple slides are just a few features that didn't make it into the big slides, but are still worth mentioning. So a couple of other features that are there, and there's plenty more. I have not covered everything. We've just tried to pull out ones that we think are of interest to you. Hiding the attendee's name in a meeting or webinar. You'll notice that you can't see anybody else's name at the moment. We've hidden that away. So you can do that during a meeting or a webinar. We have a range of additional features available to you if you are hosting webinars. Now, I know not everyone does webinars, but for those of you that do, we can delve into some more of that, those features for you. We can allow participants to change their display name during a meeting. There are further security features available as well. So things like if you're using sensitivity labels, we can bring that into the meetings now as well. And for those of you that run town halls, there's a whole host of town hall features available as well. So this last one, Ian's asked me to throw in here just for a bit of fun to show you what's coming. Microsoft Mesh, some of you may have heard about it. Microsoft have released the ability to bring avatars into a meeting space. So you join the meeting and you can walk around the room and you can see what's taking place and everybody can see your avatar in there. So this sort of space would be great for doing things like employee events or training, guided tours and products showcases. Not fully ready to go for everyone yet, but it's always nice to know what's coming in the future, so we threw that one in as well. A couple of questions that we thought that probably all of you are interested in knowing the answers to before we kick into any questions that you've thrown into the Q&A. The first is, who can access the intelligent recap in your meeting? So if you are using that feature, who is it that can see the information that's in there? So the first is people in your organisation who were not invited to the meeting who were invited to the meeting can access the information from the intelligent recap. Anybody who was not invited will not be able to see it, even if we share a link with them later. So you need to make sure you invite the attendees into the meeting if you know they're going to need to see the information there. You can, however, at any point in time, copy the text out of that meeting recap and share it with people in other places, so you can capture the information that way. People outside your organisation also will not be able to access the meeting recap, again, even if they were invited. However, we can have a meeting with externals, and some of you may have had meetings with us already where we've turned this feature on and we've had AI summarise the meeting notes and sent you the notes from that meeting. So even though you're external from our organisation, we've still got the AI summary notes from that meeting. So great for having meetings both internally and externally. The other question is, does everybody in the organisation need to have a premium license? As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, no, not everyone needs a premium license. You can pick key members of your staff that you think will need to have the license. The person who is presenting and organising the meeting, they're the one that will need the Teams premium license, and standard team licensees can come in as attendees to the meeting, as can externals. And what that means is you can mix up your licensing between standard Teams licensing and premium licensing. That's it. We have got through the material. So next we have the Q&A. Before we get into that, just to let you know, we have got a couple more webinars coming up in the new year. We have one that will be on the new OneDrive app. So for those that came to the new Teams app a few weeks back, it'll be similar to that, but we're talking about the new OneDrive. And the other webinar that we have coming up is about Microsoft Loop, and that was that one I talked you through where we can take elements from our meeting and have it sync across a range of different Microsoft apps for you as people edit and change that information. Right, any questions that have come through, Ian?
No, so far, not so much, but I have been taking some notes myself. So as you've been talking, I've come up with some things. When you talked about the green rooms, I think one thing that was quite important that I thought of when we joined a green room before we joined this meeting, and in comparison to previously, we always had to record the entire meeting, which always included 5 minutes of you and I having a little chat before the meeting started. So if we then wanted to share that recording, I had to download it, edit it, chop that 5 minutes out, and then upload it again as like a new version of the recording. With the green rooms, we had that conversation outside of the meeting, and then we joined the meeting straight in. And now I'm hoping we're just going to be able to share the recording straight off, because it's not going to have you and me talking about the weather. So
and it most definitely is. As soon as we start the meeting from the green room, the recording starts. So it does not take any conversation from the green room. It just starts from the start of the meeting.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
The other thing I just wanted to point out is, having now used the AI quite a bit for our meetings, you may think that it has voice recognition because it will be saying, like, you know, Ian said this and Anna Marika said this. But I have a shared microphone, and sometimes where Joe is sat next to me, we'll just share the same microphone. And that'll be the same for anyone who has like a meeting room or something like that. I suspect it's not going to pick up specifically who said it. It just knows that it was my microphone that's connected to my computer that said whatever it's suggesting that I said. Because Joe was giving me a whole bunch of to-do items, and it was said that I gave them to myself, which I didn't. And yeah, anyway, so it's just an important thing to know, which I suppose is why Teams Rooms isn't currently available, because they probably haven't quite figured out who in the room it was who raised the question or the task. But ultimately, yes, the AI Notes is probably the number one value proposition for us. Just to grab that summary and be able to create a bit of a task list. I find it means that I can focus on the meeting itself and not have to worry about taking notes on the side. And it actually does a better job of capturing things, because I read them at the end and I'm like, well, that's right, they did say that. And, you know, it's better than I was at my note taking.
Note taking, exactly.
So yeah, really good. The only thing I have found is you have to be really clear on when you're assigning tasks to people. I did have one meeting, and I did send it to one of our customers, and I can see them in the list there. But it basically said someone said they were going to do something about something, because we hadn't actually provided the context of what it was, because this was a follow-on meeting from a previous meeting, and therefore where I just said, I got your email, I'll get onto it. It had no context about what that conversation was, and so you do have to be a little bit specific on how you're going to allocate those tasks. But as a typical meeting, if you are quite structured and you usually say, so what are the action points, it's going to capture those quite well and allocate the people to those action points. So I found that really useful. And in the virtual appointments, I find really interesting. We as a company are not really at the scale where I have like a stacked calendar of appointments. So I haven't really thought to use it, but I do think from a sales perspective and a support perspective, to be able to invite people in and they can book their appointments, and I just sit on a support desk and answer those queries, could be quite a good thing in the future. I can see some of our clients in the health industry here, you know, obviously from a GP's perspective, that could work out quite well. But I suspect I kind of feel like Microsoft maybe missed the boat on this one, because you already have solutions in place to handle your virtual appointments. But if you have a license, maybe just give it a go. It might give you a better experience than what you're already using. Other than that, that's I haven't seen any more Q&As come through. So
Does
really,
anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? We can take you off mute. No, it looks like we've been thorough with all our material there.
The other thing is pricing, I suppose. So currently it is $7 per person, which equates to currently about, I think it's $13.56 per month per licensed user. And you may find in your organization that actually you only have 2 or 3 or, you know, half a dozen actual meeting kind of managers that require the premium license. $13.56. It's a bit cheaper if you pay for annual, so that's with a monthly commitment. But this is a special introductory price. They haven't set the actual price, so they believe that it's going to be about 30% more expensive after a year. So I'm interested to see how that pans out. And another topic we'll be talking about in 2024 will be Copilot. And it'll be interesting to see how, so Copilot's the AI engine built into Microsoft Office 365. It'll be interesting to see what the overlap is between Teams Premium's AI and the overall Copilot AI across all of the services. So we'll watch this space for that one. Also coming 2024, we'll be talking about some solution updates that we've got. This is for our own solutions. And I believe my little prediction is that we've already seen a massive shift in people asking us about how they take control of their environment, because, you know, COVID kind of built this Teams space where everyone came to work, but some people are feeling maybe it's got a bit out of hand, maybe a bit untidy, and they're looking to do a bit of a cleanup. So I think 2024 is going to be a bit of a reset year, looking at cleaning infrastructure up. And so we have some tools for that. We have a Teams control app, which is to prevent it from happening in the first place. So you lock down people's ability to create teams. And then we have a risk and an exposure report, basically, that is an auditing tool that you can show who's shared what content out from all of your teams and who has access to what teams and things like that. So that's we'll do a whole session on that next year, but that's been a hot topic for a lot of people. And on my list, I've got we've been building an extranet manager. So one thing that's always quite common is when we're building intranets for people are saying, well, I want a client folder for every single client, and I want to share that with the client, with like accountants and things like that. So we've built a tool for that to manage the sharing of individual folders inside of a library. So that will be coming next year, as well as some revamps of our current apps as well that some of you have got. So in particular, our health and safety apps going through a rewrite at the moment. So yeah, lots of exciting things for 2024 planned. Other than that, I suppose we I was going to talk about leaves. So if you didn't already know, Anna-Marika's taken some leave over the Christmas period. You're back, is it the 15th of Jan?
15th of Jan.
And I am essentially working through, because I am taking leave a bit later in the year, so April. So if you need some support over that time, then I'll be around. So just ping me an email or give me a call if it's super urgent. But yeah, otherwise Anna-Marika's away during that period. Other than that, really, I just got to say, you know, have a great Christmas, and, you know, thank you for being great supporting customers for us for 2023. It's been a really great year for us with some growth and some really cool projects with some clients. So yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, everyone, for coming along, and have yourself a wonderful Christmas with all the people special to you. Look forward to seeing you when I get back from my break.
Cool.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for coming.
See you in 2024.